So I know we have a historic heat wave here, and it's a theme of possibility. It feels a lot like Texas, but we have air conditioning. So it's just telling you, people out there may not know that. But I actually want to start out with a very simple question. Have you ever been slapped so hard in the face that stopped a basketball game you weren't even playing in? All right, then we'll talk later. No, usually it's just me. It was way back in the summer of 1983, and I was almost 12 years old. I admit I was goofing off in the park, wearing my little short shorts, striped tube socks, spitting on my friend Teddy, when wham! My mom's hand cracked across my face. I don't remember the sound itself, just the sound of voices for a basketball game over 100 feet away. Did you see that? Did you see that? That lady, F that kid up. Well, this is my mom's way of telling me to stop spitting on Teddy. Although I didn't like her chosen way of saying it, I stopped. But I'm not here to talk about childhood trauma specifically. I just want to talk about simple ways to make your health better. I've been an internal medicine doctor for over 20 years. I've had tens of thousands of patient encounters in the hospital, my own private practice. I've seen it all. I need patients to make changes in their life. And they can tell me they're trying. I appreciate trying. But what I need, you need, is results. I work with patients at their level because everybody's starting point is different. Take me, even as a kid, I realized the way my parents and I communicated wasn't healthy. God knows I have the physical, emotional scars to prove it. But it wasn't until I saw my mom FaceTime my kids, I realized the change in our relationship was absolutely needed. I grew up with abuse, became my norm. But watching her snipe at my kids on the iPad, I was just too much. That's not how a 10-year-old works. All they understand is grandma's mad at me. If I was going to make a change and improve the relationship between my mother and my kids, I would have to do something. But how? Was it just too late to make it happen? It made me think, as a doctor, I have patients come in, day out, with so many different kinds of excuses as to why they don't exercise, make time to eat right. Every time I tell them the same thing: if you don't make time for your health, you make time for disease. And it made me think that, I was doing the same thing with my mom. Now, I'm not calling my mom a disease. Please don't tell her I said that. I can't take another slap. I can't. It all sounds simple, right? We all know you should get 8 hours of sleep. But lack of sleep can increase risk of heart disease or diabetes. And nearly 90% of Americans are metabolically unhealthy today, meaning they have high blood pressure, high blood sugar, high cholesterol, or all three. 90% is the highest it's ever been in history. Yet we have more idle time wasted on phones and devices than ever before. A study showed that Americans spend upwards of 5 hours a day on the phone. I'm sure in the UK it's probably 3.5. Think of what you can do with those 5 hours. Walking 30 minutes not only reduces stress and anxiety levels, but also helps with weight management. It only takes 20 minutes to saute some veggies. I know we've all been told our whole lives to eat your vegetables. I get that. Older I get, the more I wish I made a habit to have a high fiber diet in my 20s. Higher fiber help raise your potassium levels, which in turn lower blood pressure, in turn reduces the risk of chronic disease. But with all that fiber, well, I'll tell you where that time won't be spent struggling in the bathroom. We live in a world now where, if you walk 30 minutes, get your 8 hours of sleep, eat your vegetables, you help you reach the goal I want for all of you, which is to die young as late as possible. And modern medicine has made it so that someone who would have died at 60 can limp and crawl and make it to 80, and that may feel like success to a lot of you. Both my grandfathers died at 54, but I think there's a difference between living and existing. You want to be alive while you're alive, I promise you. It's going to be a lot better eating a vegetable now than sucking one through a straw when you're 70, okay? Sometimes I ignore my health too. So I'm talking to you, I'm talking to myself. Let me tell you about the price I paid. Right when I turned 50, I was a good little boy, ran straight to the pharmacy. I got my first shingles vaccine. Life gets in the way. I have 2 kids, busy medical practice. Before I get that second shot, I got hit hard with shingles. And I became very much aware why men over 65 who get shingles are 2 to 3 times more likely to die by suicide after shingles. Pretty terrible. I had it around my eye and around my ear, my mouth. I could barely sleep from the pain. I didn't medicines for over a year. It all could have been prevented. But the physical aspects of your health are just a portion of what matters. The other thing is relationships. Relationships matter. I want you all to take a moment and think about who sits around your dinner table. and he's realized, well, you're all probably going to die of the same thing. They did a study in Boston that found that 85% of gunshot injuries occurred in the same social network. And believe it or not, people in the UK are just like as the Americans to get in bar fights. It's just ours might end in gunfire. Broader point being, if you hang out with hooligans, their problems can become your problems, just like a stray bullet. I know many of you think as a doctor, I do not hang out with hooligans, nor do I know anybody's been shot. That could be. But the same thing is true of eating Snickers. Heart disease is the #1 cause of death. Think about your friends, family, they'll have a little pooch, a little gut, go on morning walks, hikes on the weekend. Simple fact is, obese people tend to hang out with obese people, and athletic people tend to hang out with athletic people. This is important to recognize because if you come from an unhealthy family, you probably have perceptions and habits need to change or break. Out of these patients, a great couple, super goofy, a lot of fun, but they're what I call potato chip vegans. Just kind of kicking back on the couch all day, eating the potato chips, thinking they're living that light and vegan lifestyle. When they first came to me, he told me he's peeing all the time, he's always hungry, always thirsty, tired, losing weight. I realized immediately he has symptomatic diabetes. Put him on an aggressive drug regimen first, then healthy dose of education, and say he's barely on anything. It all sounds simple. It's just, it's amazing how blind we can be to it all. I can't tell you how many times in my 20s where I had a bad headache, I was tired, feeling sluggish, yet I was having my favorite $1.99 meal from Taco Bell from the 7th day in a row. So recognizing bad habits can be hard because everything bad for us is just so easy. But you always pay a price for your bad habits. That's why in order to make a change, you have to advocate for you, for your family, for your career, how you value your time. But you have to put in the work. We're all busy working 40, 50, 60 hours a week, including everything that life's going to throw at you. But when you do get some of that spare, precious little spare time, you always advocate for the best use of it, like spending 5 hours on the phone. That's why I like to say you can only trust yourself with the sword in your hand, mainly because it makes you feel like a cool samurai with a code. But it's a reminder that the person who should care the most about your problems is you. If I care about your health more than you do as your doctor, I'm really going to struggle to help you. This is where I find setting goals helps. You have to know what you want. It's a daily process to break and make new habits. And people will tell me they're trying, doctor, I'm trying. And I go, I understand. My wife, she says the same thing. She tried not to cheat on me. I did say cheat on me. And let me tell you, 6 out of 7 days, she does a bang-up job. If I told you I was fine with that, honestly, what would you say? Probably have higher expectations. Well, you know what? So should you. Otherwise, you're going to fall short. You need to set a goal and go for it. I want you to know that these goals are not out of reach for anybody. Sometimes, though, you have to get comfortable with uncomfortable, like all this heat. It throws me off a little bit. So you think I would tell you all how my mom slapped me across the face? No. But I wanted you to know where I started from. And I decided to make a change. I was intentional and I was clear. My wife, 2 kids, and I visited my mom over the summer in California. We just had an awkward lunch with my mom, and after, my wife escaped with the kids to grab some snacks. So I used that alone time to have a heart-to-heart with my mom. It wasn't easy. She didn't want to make it easy. But she knows I love her, want to have her in my life, and my family's life too. It was a difficult conversation to start, but a lot of things needed to be said. We talked about my childhood, and I realized I just hanging on to a lot of resentment. We talked about hers too, and a lot of this was hard for me to hear. Her father was a violent, abusive, alcoholic, and later became a teen mom. In a way, we've been talking past each other our whole lives until the moment I decided to make a change. But now looking back to that basketball court moment, things look a hell of a lot different. I was able to identify and break bad habits. Now the relationship between my mom and I has never been better, so much so that my kids now are staying with her, hopefully recreating some of the same moments I had with my grandma when I was a kid. Honestly, for the first time in my life, I could say I'm at peace, I'm content, I'm happy, almost excited to die young, as late as possible. Anything else would just be a slap in the face. Thank you.